Good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. We trust that you are well this glorious afternoon. It is 84 degrees and rainy here in West Central Florida. There's a band of rainstorms coming through. But I'm telling you, it's funny. I never thought I'd be one of those guys, old guys. It's raining and it's inconvenient because I got to drive in it. But you know what? We need the rain. It hasn't really rained here a whole lot. We have been the sunshine state, big time, and we really haven't had much rain in this part of the state. Pretty much all the drinking water and the water for watering crops and all that kind of stuff come from the sky. We really don't have a whole bunch of deep ground. We don't have actually any deep groundwater, that kind of thing. So we need rain. Especially when you live in a tropical paradise. And what's really influencing and hurting our tropical paradise is the I word, and that's the I word that they just don't want us to say because they keep continue to tell us that it's not really happening. Um, I'm going to show you I think it's a TikTok I found about gaslighting, and you can see if you can apply it to, I don't know, every situation in this particular administration. I think you'll enjoy it. So just wait till the end of the video and you'll see it. It's cool. Anyway, inflation continued to rise last month, according to the latest print of the Consumer Price Index that was released this morning. Month over month, consumer prices have increased 0.3% for an annual advance of 3.4%, still well above the Federal Reserve's target of just 2.0%. Their idea was to get it down to 2%, and it's a third and a bit more than that. Core CPI inflation, which excludes food and energy, electricity and gas, how you heat your home, how you cool your home, how you get to and from work. The core CPI inflation number doesn't include those numbers. And those are the things that we care about the most. That also went up 0.3% in April for a 3.6% increase year over year. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the biggest price increases in April were seen in shelter, an index that also accounts for 2/3 of the annual increase in the core consumer price index inflation. Gas prices also contributed to the monthly increase in costs. Before the seasonal adjustment, gas prices surged 5.2% in April. Now, what we've learned over the past, I don't know, 20 years is that gas prices go up in the summertime because of EPA rules in California and New York and all these environmental rules. Excuse me. Fuel companies have to do summer blends, that kind of thing, different blends for winter and summer. And when they're in that transition, the supply goes down, so the price goes up. Anyway, since this administration took office in 2021, the average prices have risen 20%. But most goods and services broken out by specific category industry have risen more than the baseline average. Here are some of them. Gasoline is up 55.5%. 55.5% gasoline. Groceries 21.3%, but you know that. Eating out, if you still have to eat out, 21.8%. Baby food. I'm so glad my kid is not on baby food. He's 33. 30%. Pet food. And we buy a prescription pet food for my co-host who is sound asleep right now over there. 23.1%. Food just for kids, 64.9%. K through 12 food, 64.9%. Rent, 20.8%. power. And this is especially prevalent in an area like mine where you can't live without, the AC. When they say that, you should turn your AC up to 80 degrees and, 80 degrees, 80 degrees, 80. My thermostat is set on 78. I can't have guests because most people who aren't used to what we live in believe that it's burning up hot in here. My AC runs all the time. Natural gas, 22%. If you're trying to get a car, a used car is 20% more, 20.4% more than it was 3 years ago. If you're trying to travel somewhere, 38.2% more. So they say take public transportation, don't drive a car. Even public transportation is up 26.1%. And real earnings, what you really make, is down 5% or 4.4%. So the question is easy. Are you better off now or than you were 4 years ago? The answer is no. I absolutely positively not. So the Budget Committee Chairman, Jody Arrington, a Republican from Texas, called the continuing trend of increasing inflation very concerning, especially coupled with the recent high interest rates and poor first quarter economic output. The report confirms that the grip of inflation won't loosen anytime soon, even after the 11 interest rate increases since March of 2022. Arrington added that the Fed's hikes that brought interest rates to their highest level since 2001. The massive amount of federal spending by President Biden and Democrats has made this inflationary firestorm difficult to contain, he warned. Now, before I go on with this article, as I remember, I'm old enough to remember that the last massive spending increase was pushed through by Republicans. Echoing Arrington's concerns, Job Creation Network CEO Alfredo Ortiz noted that April's CPI index is a, quote, sad milestone as, quote, inflation under President Biden hit 20%. Wow. As a result, ordinary Americans face a cost of living crisis and declining living standards, but with price increases outpacing wages, Ortiz emphasized. Many businesses don't work in this inflationary environment, he said, pointing to Red Lobster's looming bankruptcy. For every Red Lobster, there are dozens of small businesses that can't make the new numbers work at a certain price point. Consumers refuse to pay for goods and services. You just can't keep raising prices. You can't just keep raising wages. You can't. President Biden, while simultaneously first claiming that inflation is coming down, it isn't, and his economic plans are working, they're not, and blaming greedy corporations for raising prices is an attempt to skirt blame for his damaging policies. A new Federal Reserve study concludes that the inflation is not the byproduct of corporate greed. It doesn't take that. All you have to understand is what inflation actually is. Inflation is that your dollar buys less. And why does it buy less? It buys less because there's more dollars out there. There you go. So it's worth less, so it buys less. Um, with businesses markups remaining flat during this inflationary period, Ortiz noticed debunking Biden's scapegoating. The real reason for runaway prices is the Biden administration and congressional Democrats and Republicans' reckless spending and anti-cheap energy prices. Cheap energy prices. According to Ortiz, to actually reduce the costs and truly build back better, voters must elect policymakers this fall who will cut deficit spending and drill, baby, drill. Trump campaign press secretary Caroline Levitt said Wednesday CPI reports show that Bidenomics is an unmitigated disaster, causing workers and families to literally pay the price for Joe Biden's failed economic policies. Overall prices are up 20%, while real average weekly earnings are down 4.4% since Biden took office, 11 emphasized. The American people cannot afford 4 more years of Bidenomics. Now, I was wondering, we've been in this house since 1999. Um, and I was wondering, what does an apartment cost around me? I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean, if you don't live in apartments, you don't know people who live in apartments. And if you know people who live in apartments, what you don't say is, hey, man, how much do you pay? Uh, so I went to where everybody else goes for certain information. I went to Google and I found out, and I asked, what's the average rent for an apartment in my area here in Western Florida in Tampa? Um, so as of this month, the average rent in Tampa, Florida is $1,592 a month. For comparison, the national average rent price in the U.S. is $1,515 a month. So we're about 5% higher than the rest of the country, which I guess isn't bad, seeing how many people have come to live here in the past 3 years. But it's $1,500 a month. I'm that guy again. I remember in college, a two-bedroom apartment was $400 a month. And it was crazy because if it was two-bedroom, you probably had at least two, maybe three people living in that apartment or that house, right? Wow. Again, like I warned you though, President Obama had some of the worst numbers in the history of a sitting president. He served 2 terms. So this alone is not going to be enough. This alone, people aren't going to get it. It's funny that the people like Charlemagne the God, or telling black folks, "Hey, listen, don't look at your pocketbook. Don't look at the money. Don't look at your finances." It's kind of hard not to, isn't it? It's kind of hard not to. All right. We also found out today that the first presidential debates are going to happen. The earliest presidential debates in televised history will take place on June 27th on CNN. A press release from the outlet said today confirmed the announcement. It came hours after former President Donald Trump accepted an invitation from President Joe Biden earlier for 2 debates in June and September. The first debate will be held on June 27th from CNN studios in Atlanta, a key battleground state for the November election. Notably, no audience will be present at the debate. So both guys will be playing towards the television station. I mean, towards the television, staring into the TV, right? So this is going to be a reality TV event set up particularly for television. My guess is that CNN couldn't find an audience that wasn't going to. Wasn't going to be pro-Trump. President Biden posted on X before the news was confirmed by the outlet that he had accepted CNN's invitation, adding, "Over to you, Donald. As you said, anywhere, anytime, any place," which is something you probably shouldn't say, right? So President Trump, in his response, posted on Truth Social that it was his great honor to accept CNN's debate against Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in history of the United States and a true threat to democracy. You know, President Trump added that he would also accept an NBC News debate against President Biden on September 10th. Shortly afterward, President Biden posted on X that he also accepted this debate. "I have received and accepted the invitation to a debate hosted on ABC on Tuesday, September 10th," President Biden said on a post on X. Trump said he'll arrange his own transportation. "I'll bring my plane too. I plan on keeping it for another 4 years." Now, what you know is that snarky remark wasn't written by Joe Biden. He doesn't have that in him. He just doesn't. For the CNN debate, The outlet said that the press release that moderators for the debate and additional details will be announced later. But now you know that all these super far left people who work for CNN are chopping at the bit and poking holes in each other's tires so they can't be there, that kind of stuff, slashing each other's tires. The Biden campaign said in a letter to the commission on presidential debates earlier on Wednesday, saying that the president would not take part in the commission's planned debates, preferring earlier debates prior to the early voting period in many states. The Trump campaign also sent a letter to the commission in April, noting that they preferred early debates as well. Now, there are some conditions to this debate that both campaigns have agreed to. Let's get to some of the conditions. The outlet noted to qualify for participation, candidates must fulfill requirements outlined in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution of the United States. File a statement of candidacy with the Federal Elections Commission. A candidate's name must appear on a sufficient number of state ballots to reach the 270 electoral vote threshold to win the presidency prior to the eligibility deadline. Agree to accept the rules and format of the debate and receive at least 15% in 4 separate national polls of registered voters or likely voters that meet CNN standard for reporting. The proposals did not mention the independent candidate for president, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has, in some polls, received at least 15% of the vote, but not yet qualified on a sufficient number of state ballots to reach the 270 required electoral votes to secure the presidency. Kennedy campaign referred the Epoch Times to a post on X by the candidate, which criticized both candidates for keeping him out of the debate. Mr. Kennedy, but neither of these campaigns are keeping you out. The rules are keeping you out. Your campaign hasn't caught fire enough to keep to include you in the debates, but you are locked out. You are. Now, the Trump campaign has called for more debates. Sorry, there was a bug there. We don't know if that'll happen. I imagine after this debate and we see the earpiece in Joe Biden's ear, there's going to be a lot fewer, living in Florida, wildlife gets in the house. Anyway, there's going to be a lot fewer. I mean, these debates will be early, but there'll be a lot fewer in my estimation. All righty. Oh, and now that you've waited, you've got to see this Twitter, and this is about, and you can apply this to anything going on in the left, everything going on in the left. All right, well, enjoy the video. Okay, enjoy the video, and I'll say bye now. So again, until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye now.
It's happening are the real problem here. That's not true, and it's definitely not really happening. Yeah, it's happening, but it's not a big deal. That thing that's happening is actually a good thing, and here's why. People freaking out about the thing that's happening are the real problem here.